You made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is sponsored by Imaging Services, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Moguls, Chiropractic Rocks, True Weight Solutions, The 100-Year Lifestyle, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Ultimate Entrepreneur Opportunity, Brain Tap, Sherman College of Chiropractic, and Chiro Pro Accounting. Let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 238 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I am your co-host, Luke Millette. Here's your host, Jim Chester.
So today we have the opportunity of interviewing Dr. Brian Stenzler. And if you guys want to know more about the real history and future of chiropractic, stay tuned. Well, welcome to another episode of the Chiro Hustle podcast. This is episode
238.
And today we have the honor of having Dr. Brian Stenzler coming in from
San Diego, California.
Awesome. And we are producing this show today out of the great state of Colorado. And we are in Grand Junction, Colorado for all the viewers out there. And it's just a real honor to get reconnected with you. I know you have a book that's coming out soon. It's based on the D.R.E.A.M. Mm-hmm. And I love that because it reminds me of an old I Have a Dream by Martin Luther King Jr. And I'm sure there's some resonance around that. I have a dream for chiropractic as well. And I know that you have some great things you're doing out there in California. So you are now, how long have you been out of school practicing chiropractic?
So I graduated from Life in Atlanta, Life University in March 98. So I guess I'm approaching, I'm about 23 years now. Jeez, how does that happen?
I know, it's like overnight success, right? It takes 25 years.
Exactly. Goodness.
That's what DeMartini told me, at least.
Yeah, overnight success. Took 23 years to get there.
So 23 years into chiropractic profession. For all of our viewers out there that aren't acquainted with you, would you mind just sharing people what your chiropractic story is and how you got into the beautiful profession of chiropractic?
Yeah, sure. So initially, when I was growing up, I always wanted to live in Southern California. I grew up in New York. I was born in Manhattan, grew up on Long Island, and always wanted to be a movie producer. So I thought I'd move out to California, become this big movie producer, TV producer, and all that. But I think a lot of kids that have dreams of being a movie producer, firefighter, police officer, or doctor, doesn't always happen that way. So when I was in college, I realized that path was not going to happen, and decided to change my path into something being in healthcare. I was spending most of my time in the gyms. I was training some of my friends in the fraternity, and I was introduced to physical therapy. So I switched all my classes over from theater, essentially, to pre-med. And, easy switch, right? Almost failing out of school with theater, and then going to pre-med and going towards physical therapy. I was going to go finish up my years in Syracuse. And my mom started dating this guy named Nat. This is towards the mid-end of my freshman year of college. And Nat was a retired police officer for NYPD. And he asked me if I'd ever thought about being a chiropractor. And I'm like, a chiropractor? I'm like, I don't even know what they are. Like, I heard the word a couple of times as a kid. I could never pronounce it. I remember when I would ride my bicycle, in Syosset, I was from Long Island right away, of course, Jeff. And so I was riding my bike off South Oyster Bay Road, and I would see this home office chiropractor, Schwab. I didn't know what the heck it was. And I asked my mom, I'm like, what's this word, this chiropractor? And she didn't even know. It was like, I don't know, some doctor or something that cracks people's backs or something like that. That was my understanding of chiropractic up through college. I mean, I wrestled in high school and didn't even know what a chiropractor was. That's a sin in of itself. So he asked me if I ever thought about being a chiropractor. I'm like, no. I'm going to be a physical therapist. He goes, well, my son Steve just started chiropractic school over in Atlanta, and I've never seen him happier, more fulfilled. You need to talk to him. I said, okay, sure. I could talk to him. So I reached out to Steve, call him up, and we started talking, and he was telling me the philosophy of chiropractic and, about the body as a self-healing, self-regulating organism, and it can do all these great things and everything about the nervous system, no drugs, no surgeries. And I'm like, holy cow. I'm like, that was my growing up. I never did drugs, pushed or prescribed. I always treated my body like a temple. So Steve and I talked multiple times, and we were going to meet for the very first time at our parents' wedding. So Steve was having a Christmas break from school. I was having Christmas break from my college. So we're going to meet at the wedding. And a day and a half before the wedding, Nat, Steve's father, drops dead. His first sign of heart disease was an aneurysm that basically ended his life. And so I end up meeting Steve at his dad's funeral instead of his dad's wedding. Steve comes up to me, and we give each other hugs, and he says, so we're going to meet on Monday at 9:00. I'm like, what? He goes, I told you I was going to take you to different chiropractic offices. I'm like, don't you need to take some time to mourn your dad's death? He goes, this is what we're doing. I'm like, okay. So one of the first places he takes me, Pasquale Cirasoli's. I know you and I have talked about Pat before. Takes me out there to the Self Center in Brooklyn. Unbelievable. I met some other great chiropractors like Andrew Farrelly on Long Island. And that week I became a chiropractor. There was no doubt in my mind. Steve and I, still closest friends today, 36 hours shy of being stepbrothers, and we're real brothers because you don't get to choose your family, but I get to choose Steve. And that took me on the path. Steve and I lived together for 2 years in chiropractic school. I went right from college, right into chiropractic school at Life, and the rest is history, and never looked back and never thought twice, and just knew that this is exactly where I belonged and what I meant to be doing.
Wow. It's impactful. You know, I think that that's something that when we have these conversations, it actually reignites the people that we interview to know where they've come from. And I think that that's one of the most powerful things is for these reminders of these interviews that we do is to, like, you know, your patients will listen to this, you know, your colleagues are going to listen to this, and they're going to be like, wow, what a powerful story, man. And I just acknowledge you for, you know, where you are today from where you were, you know, going to Life College in Marietta. So tell me, how was it like to be around Sid Williams back then?
Well, I remember the first day when he dropped the keys in orientation and everyone's clapping. I don't know if you're familiar with the key thing, but the people that have known Sid, they're probably hysterical right now. You know, he's one of those larger than life kind of guys. I had the opportunity to meet him because I started going to Dynamic Essentials before I even started as a student. My dad met D.R.E.A.M in New York just by some chance thing. I won't even get into that story today. But my dad met D.R.E.A.M, and, you know, my dad didn't even know that Dee was a chiropractor, and they just started talking. And he mentioned to my dad that he runs a school in Atlanta, a chiropractic school. And my dad is like, really? My son just went to go visit it and all this other stuff. And so Dee is like, oh, he's like, he's got to come to DE. I'm going to hook you guys up with tickets. He flew us out there, got my dad and us like an apartment, like a condo. And so I probably went to like 3, 4, 5 Dynamic Essentials before I even started chiropractic college. So I was exposed to Sid and to all those great DE speakers early on. So I was very fortunate to grow up, you know, in the DE family before even starting. But being around Sid, it was a larger than life type of experience. I mean, when we had assemblies, you know, nobody missed assembly. You wanted to be in his presence, and there was just such an energy. And I know that there are a lot of people in this profession that don't see him so fondly for whatever reasons that they choose. But I know our profession would not be where it is today if not for Sid and Nell, Dee, and some of the other people that started Life College and Dynamic Essentials. So I'm forever grateful for them and what they've put into our profession from the very beginning.
Such an amazing connection there. You know, when I went out and I did, 600 screen events, I would have keys near me. And if somebody said, I don't believe in chiropractic, I'd get the keys and I'd drop them. And I'd say, you don't have to believe in chiropractic. It's just like gravity. It works whether you believe it or not. And so many people's eyes would just light up, and they would either be okay with that type of switch of gear that I put on them, or they would just walk away. And that's something that when you have somebody like Sid who believed what he did and instilled that type of passion and that realness into people's lives, I'm sure that was really special. And
yeah, it really was. And for the listeners and people watching that don't know what we're talking about with Sid and the keys, you don't have to believe in gravity for it to work. You jump out of a building, you're going to hit the ground pretty hard. And you don't have to believe in chiropractic for it to work. And that's kind of the essence of the dropping the keys for those of you that needed that visual to understand it a little bit better.
And now you're writing the book. Why don't you tell us about the book for a little bit?
So I've actually been writing this book for the past 12 years. Didn't have a title for it until about 3 weeks ago, till I finished the manuscript, the first draft. But essentially, I mentioned to you that Nat, Steve's father, his first sign of heart disease was a deadly aneurysm. And, if you asked Nat the morning he woke up, if he was healthy, he would have said, yeah, he didn't have any symptoms. And so we know the World Health Organization defines health as a state of complete physical, social, and mental well-being, not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. Most people don't realize that. So Steve and I would always talk about what is real health and what is wellness. And that's where, that the idea of D.R.E.A.M came about, being for the 5 facets of a wellness lifestyle, being diet, relaxation, exercise, being an adjustment, and mental wellness. So diet, I define as everything that goes into the body from the outside world to the inside world. It's everything you eat, drink, taste, touch, smell, feel, hear. All the movies you watch and all the people you spend time with is just as much part of the diet as the food you consume. Relaxation, Yep. And relaxation is giving your body a chance to call time out, to reset, repair, regenerate, rejuvenate yourself. E is for exercise, any activity that requires physical or mental exertion. Skip A for a second. M is for mental wellness. That's about connecting your inner purpose and passion to your outer goals and tasks in all phases of life. Being right with your self-esteem, self-worth, self-values, and so on and so forth. Being right spiritually, emotionally, and all that. When you have a strong D.R.E.A.M, you should be able to adapt to or neutralize chemical, physical, and emotional stressors, which will help you stay in adjustment. Being in adjustment is about being in balance mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally, and having optimal brain-body communication through the nervous system. And this is the missing link for most people that live a wellness lifestyle. Because if you ask Nat, he thought he ate well. He thought he did exercise or whatever it was. He never had his nervous system checked. He'd never been adjusted. I think he was adjusted by Steve for the first time a couple days before he passed. And that was it. So he never had his nervous system checked to make sure. So we need to make sure that our body, we're going to always endure chemical, physical, and emotional stresses on a daily basis. And so if we're not able to adapt to those, then we will go out of adjustment, essentially. So our resilience is ultimately going to be determined by how we live our life. So what the book is about is teaching parents how they themselves should be living the D.R.E.A.M lifestyle and teaching it to their kids early on. Because kids are a reflection of their parents. Kids like to play follow the leader. But if the parents are chomping on Cheetos and they're watching horrible, violent movies and everything else, and they're not affirming positive things like saying you're a bad kid, as opposed to you're a good kid, but you did a bad thing, the language that we use, the way that we converse with our families, everything about it is so important. So everything starts top down, from the parents down to the kids. So the title of the book is D.R.E.A.M Wellness: The 5 Keys to Raising Kids for a Lifetime of Physical and Mental Health. And this book is essentially the chiropractic lifestyle on steroids. There's probably very little in the book that any chiropractor has not heard before. It'll be a good refresher for them. But if every one of their practice members or patients knew this information, they would be a chiropractic practice member for life, hands down. They would be begging you to get their newborns checked as soon as they were born. They would be begging you to get their kids checked throughout life. So the whole idea of this book is, and there are going to be courses with it and everything else. And I also created a D.R.E.A.M score that goes with it. It's about 100-question lifestyle survey that asks all about the things that we as chiropractors, are very careful about. We know how we live our life. So you answer this question, 100 questions about your lifestyle, and it lets us know where you score and what you could do to live your dream better. And it's always going to tie back to a fully functioning nervous system, because if that's not getting checked, you're going to be missing a huge point. And I talk about how, the 5 facets of wellness are like the 5 wheels in a car. You got 2 in the front, 2 in the back, and then your steering wheel. And the nervous system is your steering wheel. You're not going anywhere without that steering wheel telling all the others to go. So, you could eat all the right food in the world, but if you're not well adjusted, that food's not going to be digested properly, and so on and so forth. So we talk about how the different facets of wellness all work together, and you need to have harmony in order for everything to work in sync.
That's it's quite the honor to have you share that with our audience today. And like you said, we understand these fundamentals to the chiropractic world and the chiropractic, philosophy and the lifestyle approach to having a healthy life and having a healthy family. But a lot of people out there, they don't. And, when you create content like you're doing, you have to think about who's looking back at you, and who's looking back at us are people that need good information, and they need somebody to actually share with them what chiropractic is and what that lifestyle approach to really, the eating, thinking, moving, adjustment type of quality of life. And most people don't ever get the fundamentals, and they don't have any type of like strategy for this, and they go for what's cheap, fast, or easy. And that's typically why people end up in the mess that they're in with their health, is because they cheap, fast, and easy themselves and just focus on one thing, and that's earning. And that's not the quality of life that the chiropractic profession, instills in people. And, as I've gotten to know you, and I've gotten to know so many chiropractors over the past, decade, it's been really an honor to understand this to such a degree of like the simplicity around it. But people don't get it. Like you said about your mom, like, oh yeah, they do this thing where they just crack people's backs. Yeah. If I went around to my condo complex right now and I said, hey, what do you guys think about chiropractic? They'd be like, oh, they just pop on people's backs. And they would have no idea that there was an anchor for the dream. They would have no idea that, rest and digest is just as important as the eating.
Mm-hmm.
And, recovery and adaptability are just as important as, going to work.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right. And it's so important, and I'm very blessed because, I've been mentored by some of the best. I saw Dave Major on there before, best chiropractor that I know who doesn't have an MD degree. And, he's just unbelievable. So much I've learned from him, and Jim from you too. And, what you and Luke are doing is just amazing. It's a matter of people understanding the lifestyle. We've got chiropractors we have such a spectrum. You have some chiropractors that say, oh, just go to a chiropractor when you hurt, when you're in a car accident, when you're in pain or something. And then you have other chiropractors that say, we could heal everything under the sun. It's a panacea. And there's somewhere in the middle where we've got to find where everybody needs to know that everybody benefits from a fully functioning nervous system. And a chiropractor needs to know how to objectively measure whether or not they're subluxated or not. And the true key to chiropractors, as far as I'm concerned, if you go all the way back to D.D. and BJ, they always talk about getting to the cause of it. And I think it was Chris Kent that said the true goal of the chiropractor should be to make his or her profession obsolete, in the sense of we should not have to constantly be adjusting people because they should be avoiding the causes of subluxation. Everyone would need a chiropractor on their healthcare team to make sure they're in adjustment, but they need to be doing things to stay in adjustment. And that's what this is all about. And I think that that's hopefully the new era of chiropractic. It's not the chiropractor's job to teach them everything and to do everything. The chiropractor should really be focused on adjusting subluxations, and that's why I want to write the book, because I don't want to spend time in my office talking about all the causes of subluxation. I'd rather say, here's a book. Here are some videos. Here are things to watch. I need to find out, are you subluxated or not? Let's get you on the table and fix that, because I want to be the master at knowing if someone's nerve interference is compromising the integrity of their life. And if it is, I want to fix it and move on. I move the bone, God does the healing. I don't want to spend more than 5 minutes with people, but I want them to know everything that I know. And that was why this book had to be written. And this is why this book should be a reference, a resource for every vitalistic, principled chiropractor out there if they want to take care of more families. It's pretty simple. The more we educate them, the more they're going to lean on us for a higher quality of life, and the more people they're going to refer. And that's how we could get to a 60 or 70% or higher utilization of chiropractic from a measly 10% that we're at right now.
So how do you think the world would change if 100% of people started seeing chiropractors and getting adjusted when needed? And then how does that also look when they start taking your advice, staying away from the things that cause subluxation and actually need adjusting less and less?
Yeah, I think that the question would be, what would the world look like if it was subluxation free? Because, how you use chiropractic and everything is so different. But if the world was subluxation free, I think that we would have a much more harmonious world. I can't say it would be peace on earth. I'd heard, people have said before, what if Adolf Hitler went to a chiropractor? Would the Holocaust have not happened? Well, some people say maybe if he was adjusted, he would have won the war. Because you're going to perform at your best. I like to think the former, that he would not have been in that mindset, but it brings out the best of you. You're innate. So everyone is born with 100% innate intelligence, and we're always at 100%. We don't always express 100% innate intelligence. And the analogy I'll use for that is like right now in San Diego, it's a rare cloudy day because, every day in San Diego is sunny, right? But the sun is shining perfectly at 100%. If I got in an airplane and went above those clouds, the sun would be shining perfectly. But the expression of the sun is compromised at less than 100%. The sun shining 100%, we can't see it, expression less than 100%. Everyone's innate intelligence is at 100%, but when you're subluxated, you're not expressing innate at 100%, even though it's 100%. So when everybody's expressing 100% innate intelligence, 100% life force, you're just going to have so much more harmonious relationships. You're not going to have the vitriol that we have. How could someone just be angry or mean when you get adjusted? Did anyone ever get off an adjusting table and say, I want to kill you now, or I want to steal from you? No, it's like you just feel like in this utopian moment where you have all these endorphins released and you're just so connected. And I think that we would just have so much more harmony on this planet. Yeah, that's just my thought.
Well, you kind of, you took me in a different direction there with the answer, which I really like, but I kind of want to ask you a funny question. Is that okay?
Yeah, please do.
How do you respond to people when they call it chiropractics?
Oh my goodness. I am different now after being in practice 23 years than I was back then. When somebody would refer to chiropractics, chiropractic medicine, crack my back, rub down, whatever it is, I used to have some really negative responses and stuff and just attack. I just educate them and say, you know what, we actually refer to it as chiropractic. And I explain why. And I just move past it. I don't want to make people feel badly, for using the wrong terminology and stuff, because they're not doing it because they're mean. And I don't want to be mean-spirited in return. I just want to express as much love as I can. That's what I do when I'm well-adjusted. Maybe if I'm not well-adjusted, I'll make fun of them or something. But if I'm well-adjusted and my innate is expressing itself, I'll just kind of say, hey, we just refer to it as chiropractic, not chiropractics, and just explain why.
Yeah, I've always wanted to ask that question. I never asked any chiropractor how they respond to that type of exchange.
Yeah, we get some funny things, especially in San Diego. So
I think in Mexico they call it chiropractica.
Chiropractica. See,
like
chiropractica. Yeah, and I did some mission trips. I was out in Panama and did Costa Rica and stuff. And it's a different language. You got to learn different words like boca arriba, right? So
Jim's studying
Dios, no Dios
right now.
What's
Don't tell anybody. I'm studying Spanish right now, like a little baby.
Wow.
I'm doing Rosetta Stone.
Good language to know.
Yeah, it's something that I will build upon as I develop. But yeah, it looks like, hey, he's studying Spanish. I know like 5 words.
More than I know.
I haven't studied Spanish since high school, but I try. My wife speaks Spanish pretty fluently. She actually taught it for a while. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So where do you see chiropractic going in the next 20 years or so?
Well, it's a good question. For one, I'm on the board right now for an organization called the Congress of Chiropractic State Associations. ChiroCongress used to be known as COCSA, but they had to change the name for various reasons. It didn't always come across and broadcast very well, especially when they referred to it as the big COCSA. Really got confusing. But the Congress of Chiropractic State Associations is where the state associations go for best practices. It's where the association presidents, executive directors, and leadership goes and learns how to run their state associations best. And right now, we're working on a strategic plan for the profession. So we rather not guess about where it's going to go, but we want to help direct it, where it's going to look like in 3 years, 5 years, and 20 years. So I don't know. Right now, it's kind of like the sausage is being made. I don't know how the plan is going to turn out. But my vision of chiropractic between what we're doing, the strategic plan, and what we're doing with my book is I'm hoping to leave as little to chance and as much to choice as possible. And so if I have my way, between the book and between the strategic plan the profession's going to put together as a collaborative effort, I would like to see us on the path for every man, woman, child having a chiropractor on the healthcare team to ensure fully functioning nerve. When I was asked this question 5 or 10 years ago, I really didn't know where it was going to go. And I'm just going to go with the positive side rather than the negative side. And that we're going to be going into increased utilization, much less marginalization, and more towards, I don't want to say mainstream medicine, but mainstream healthcare, where we could work with other healthcare providers as separate, distinct, unique practitioners adjusting subluxations, not working in a hospital setting to give somebody an anti-inflammatory or to raise and lower dead legs, but to actually bring life force back to that leg by adjusting them and working in somewhat of an autonomous way where, sure, maybe it has to be referred by the chief of staff or whatever in the medical clinic or whatever it is, but we get to do what we need to do based on our analysis. And I think that that's important. I don't personally see myself ever wanting to work in a hospital type setting, but I think it's essential. I think it's really important, not only for people to receive the care that need it, but also for the growth of our profession. So people that are thinking about becoming chiropractors have somewhere to go other than private practice. That's one thing that physical therapists have. They've got many more clinic opportunities to go in chiropractors, see the private practice, or now there are more rural health clinics and stuff like that. But there are very few opportunities for the non-entrepreneurial doctor who really wants to help people naturally.
I think, I was having a conversation with the potential sponsor of our show yesterday, and I took the position of, hey man, if everybody that was in like a crisis care like environment in a hospital got adjusted, that would speed up their recovery times. If people were, inside of a hospital that were considering having to get into the pharmacology train, they would get adjusted, and there might be a chance that their life would improve to a better degree, that wouldn't be the outcome that they were facing. And, I just said, if every baby was getting checked at birth inside of a birth ward inside of the hospital, there wouldn't be such a propensity for necessity of drugs. I mean, you can only say it so clearly. Like there wouldn't be a need for the schedule of vaccines that they're on, and there wouldn't be the need for other things if they were checked and their nervous systems were functioning properly. And I think that, we could alter the direction of the healthcare profession. And that's what I told him is it's more of a care of health profession rather than a healthcare profession. So when we think about how chiropractic fits into the larger picture, that's why sometimes like, the when people say like nails on a chalkboard, I get that when people say chiropractic physician or chiropractic medicine. And I just want to be like a coach at halftime and flip the damn table and tell people it's chiropractic. And there's a reason why chiropractic is unique, distinct, and non-obvious, and why it's a profession that's founded on science, philosophy, and art, and why it's been around for 125 years and it has never sold out. And that's why I feel the passion that I do, and I burn inside when people say things like this, chiropractic physicians or chiropractic medicine. And I'm just like, do you guys realize your identity? Can you guys just like look and tell me what your identity is? And I'm not a chiropractor, but I don't want to tell you who your identity is, but can you tell me who your identity is? And because that's the way that the grand majority of our population sees the chiropractor, is if you don't tell them that you're a chiropractor that practices subluxation based care, then you're going to be the chiropractor that they think is chiropractic medicine. And right. That's like weird as hell to me.
Yeah. Well, our profession is at a very interesting crossroads. And by the way, Jim, that was very well stated. I know chiropractors that can't state that, what you just said, as well as you did. But our profession is at a crossroads right now. It's like you've got chiropractors that want to be so desperately included in a medical model where some of them want to maintain a subluxation correction model, and others want to just be pseudo medical doctors. They would love to be able to distribute vaccinations. They would love to be able to give, medications and anti-inflammatories and all that. And to me, well, not to me, to D.D. Palmer and to B.J. Palmer, that is not chiropractic. We don't get to choose what chiropractic is. They talk about, well, that's just dogma. Chiropractic has to evolve. No, it doesn't. If you want to do something that is outside of the realm of what chiropractic was supposed to be when D.D. and B.J. came up with it, then go do that, but call it something else. It's like if you come up with a dance step, and you say this dance step, the Stenzler two-step is 2 steps forward, 1 step to the left. And I call that the Stenzler two-step, and I trademark that. That's the Stenzler two-step. And you say, that is a really good step, but I'm going to do a little twirl at the end. Fine, do the freaking twirl, but don't you dare call it the Stenzler two-step, because it's not. And that's the problem, is when chiropractors don't know what makes us separate and distinct, then we've got some serious problems. And I'm really open to chiropractors practicing how they want to practice, pretty much as long as they stay in a couple of lanes. One is drug-free, surgery-free. The second is we understand that there are subluxations. Well, even if you don't want to use the word subluxation, we're looking at a neurological component caused by misalignment of vertebrae. Okay, you don't want to call it subluxation. That's divisive to you. You want to call it fixation, whatever the heck you want to call it. Just understand that you have to look at the neurological component. We're not musculoskeletal, it's neuromusculoskeletal. And there's a spiritual component to it, an innate intelligence that's compromised, the expression of when you're out of adjustment. Outside of those lanes, I don't care if somebody wants to do therapies or anything else, let them do it. But don't call those things chiropractic because they're not chiropractic.
You made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is sponsored by Imaging Services, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Moguls, Chiropractic Rocks, True Weight Solutions, The 100-Year Lifestyle, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Ultimate Entrepreneur Opportunity, BrainTap, Sherman College of Chiropractic, and Chiro Pro Accounting. Let's hustle. Yeah, I mean, I have so much respect for this conversation today. I think that, we really need to clear the air with a lot of people. And that's why we exist as a free speech platform for chiropractors to be heard. And we produce the way that we do because obviously you heard what I had to say. And I have a belief system that everybody deserves to at least be checked for vertebral subluxation and adjusted if necessary. And a chiropractor is somebody that is a care of life provider, and they are interested in helping people's families, and they're interested in making people healthy. And if that person that comes into their office or wherever they're practicing, they have other people in that office with them that are other healthcare provider professionals, as long as they realize that chiropractic first, chiropractic second, chiropractic third, chiropractic fourth, chiropractic and the other provider fifth, whatever down the line, if they can think of it in that type of mindset, obviously like your potential stepdad, if somebody comes in and they haven't been adjusted their entire life and they're like, hey, let me get that miracle adjustment, bro. Like, yeah, let me look at your x-rays first, bro. And then you're like, boy, you haven't taken care of your spine in 45 years. I don't have a miracle for you. Like, but I will try to get you back to the activities of daily living the best I can with the resources that I have. But now we need a team of people that are going to look after you long term, because your quality of life determines on a team of people now. It's not just the chiropractic adjustment. And I do think that we live in a society now where technology's taken over people's spines, and people are representing different types of subluxations at a younger age just because of their postural distortions. And obviously we talked about the compound effect of diet, and people aren't eating great. And the behaviors that people have, they're sedentary more now than ever. So yeah, I mean, chiropractor offices should be booming. Like, I should never hear about 30% of chiropractic offices closing because of COVID. I should hear about those people getting 30% more people into their offices because people are sedentary, they're desperate, they need somebody that can actually deliver the goods to them and provide good care to them. So when we have these bigger conversations, integrate your office however you see fit, but don't call yourself anything other than a chiropractor. And if you are interested in something else from the jump, don't infiltrate the chiropractic profession and try to manipulate it. Go do what you think is necessary and work in another profession and call it what it is, but don't come in as a sheep in wolf's clothing or a wolf in sheep's clothing and try to manipulate the system based on an agenda that's not chiropractic. So, I think these conversations are necessary, and people listen to this, they're going to get lambasted with a lot of truth today.
Amen. And there's always going to be haters. And I say everything from a place of love, as you do too, Jim. I mean, we just want the chiropractic profession to flourish and to really be able to maximize our ability to serve humanity. And when we confuse people, nobody wins. And so that's the bottom line, is we just need to get rid of the confusion. We need to be really good at what we do, and that's detecting and correcting subluxations, and leave everything else to the other experts. If you're incredibly passionate about something else, or even more passionate than you are about correcting subluxations, at least let the person that comes into your office know that what you're doing is not actually chiropractic, but you as a chiropractor are licensed to do it. And so at least it doesn't confuse people from that aspect.
Yeah, and the education system is a free market. You can go get a post-education after your chiropractic degree and do whatever you want to. And I think that that's the part where people are very confused with their power. Is they think that just because they get the title of this, that they can come into a system that was developed on science, philosophy, art, and has been around for 125 years. And yeah, don't sell out today for the payoff of today, for the future of chiropractic. And I think that that's something that needs to be said too, is some of these people are making decisions that don't have the future of chiropractic in their greatest interest. They're looking for the payoff today, which will sell chiropractic out. So when we ask that question, where do we see chiropractic in the next 20 years? Yeah, I love your answer. But if we go the other direction, people are looking to how they can parcel out the profession. And if they don't have integrity, then we are facing a challenging time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. 100%.
So maybe you could touch upon some of your heroes who have been a major influence in the development of your life. And they could be chiropractors or not.
So, I look back for the people that I've actually gotten a chance to meet, because, you've got heroes that you've learned about in history, and you got heroes that you learn about in real life that are still around today. And so the closer I've gotten to the personal heroes, the less hero they get, because you get to know more about them. You get to see all their other aspects of it. So I would say that the very first person that was alive in my day would be Arnold Schwarzenegger. In the sense of, I grew up, I was always the shortest. I still am. I was skinny. I was a little twerp. And when I was 14, 15 years old, I started reading some of the magazines, the muscle fitness magazines, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Now, I'm born in 1972. So we're talking about 1984, 85. He's had like 2-3 movies, Conan the Barbarian, maybe Terminator at that point, and Pumping Iron, and
Hercules in
Hercules. I was going to say, and maybe the lesser known Hercules in New York. Wow. I'm really impressed, Luke.
I'm a film major.
Oh, I love that. So Arnold wasn't what he is today. And as I was reading the stuff, I was just very inspired by his story and started doing some of his workouts and what have you. And I remember even in 10th grade, my English teacher, the lit teacher, had me do a report. We all had to do a report on somebody that we admired, somebody that's influential in their life. And I told him I was going to do a report on Arnold Schwarzenegger. And he looked at me like, what? This bodybuilder, who's in a couple of movies? I'm like, just let me do it. And I ended up getting an A on that report, probably the only time I ever got an A. But he even said to me, he goes, Brian, this was much more interesting than I ever imagined. I mean, and look what that guy has done since then. Love his politics, don't love his politics, that's not relevant. As a person and an influential person in my life, if it weren't for him, I probably would not have started exercising, filling out as an adult, getting the confidence that I did. And that led me into chiropractic, because just the lifestyle of fitness and everything else just took me on that path. So I would say from somebody I haven't met there would be Arnold Schwarzenegger. When I look at historical figures, the two that I really, think the most of that have done so much for humanity, I can't help but to think of Abraham Lincoln and Martin Luther King for what they did, not only for a sector of our population that was so discriminated against and tortured and treated so poorly, but if I think about who would I love to have a conversation with right now, I would love to know how they went ahead and took such a group of people that was so marginalized and brought it to a whole nother level. And I know there's still a lot of work that needs to be done and a reckoning that our country is going through right now. There are right ways and wrong ways to do it. I won't give my political point of views on that because, again, our country is so divided. But I think that we all agree that we all have to come from a place of love. And there's work to be done. But what those two men did was unbelievable. And they had people around them that had helped make it work. But our profession has been marginalized since 1895. And so I would love to see a reckoning there. And kind of going back to the question of where do I see the profession in 20 years from now, I would like to see, some type of changing happening. And so, if we could learn from those two people, that would be pretty remarkable.
So I just have to ask you, who do you see stepping into this position and holding that space and being able to guide the direction as the Martin Luther King Jr. or the Abraham Lincoln for chiropractic as we develop as a profession?
It's a really good question. Some of my greatest mentors in chiropractic they're older now, or maybe some not around. Like I've talked about Pat Sarasoli, Guy Reekman, Bob Hoffman, Patch and Tempo. They have all carried a torch. Sid Williams. They've all done so many great things for our profession. Who is the MLK of the future for our profession? I don't know. I guess since I have a dream, because Dream Wellness, maybe I could help, but I can never put myself in that type of shoe. But I'm certainly going to be part of the solution. But there's got to be somebody who is so articulate, so smart, so full of love, and can really rally people. I don't know if that person exists yet, or where they are, but hopefully that person is there and already working behind the scenes. And I hope that I get to know that person if I'm not part of that solution. So I don't know. I won't be so vain to say that's going to be me. Even they could use the I have a dream wellness if they want, but it needs to happen.
Do you have an idea of who it would be?
After I've been in this profession now at a very deep, I didn't go wide, I went deep with the profession over the past 4 years. Since Luke and I, actually 5 years since we released our first movie, Chiropractic, the documentary, I had no idea who Jim Sigafus was, except for he was popular on YouTube. I had no idea who Sid Williams was, other than I read a book called The Meadowlands Experience when I was helping in a chiropractic office. I had no idea who Billy DeMoss was, except for he was some renegade dude that just talked from his mind and, set the standard for freedom of speech in chiropractic. I had no idea really the depth of the history of the profession. I didn't even know who the heck, the first chiropractic patient.
Harvey Lillard.
I had no idea who Harvey Lillard was. So my learning curve has been sped up, over the past 5 years specifically. Like somebody put rocket boosters on me and said, Jim, you're going to go and do this one thing. You're going to do this one thing well, and you're going to figure out all the people in this profession. You're going to be integrated with the most important, most genius, most charismatic people on planet Earth, and they're the chiropractors. And that's your journey, Jim. So for me to say who I think is going to be that person, I'm sure I've talked to them. I'm guaranteeing you I've talked to them. And I've guaranteeing you that if you went and looked at my timeline over the past 5 years, I've either interviewed them, we've taken photos together, we shared a meal together, I've shook their hands or hugged them. And I don't know like the clout of who that person is, but I guarantee you I've shared space with them. And who knows? It might not be somebody that's a chiropractor. Mm-hmm. So I don't know who that person may be, but I have a huge reverence for knowing that the ecosystem of chiropractic needs that person to step in, and they need to be supported. And if chiropractors don't support you for what school you go to or what technique you practice or how you integrate, they need to support one great person to say this is the direction that needs to be taken. And it can't be an acronym, alliance. It can't be the old boys club. It can't be the marginalized. It can't be the select group, whether it's men's or women's groups. It has to be one chiropractic cause, and it has to be one chiropractic message, and it has to be for the good of the people, not the egos of the practitioners. Mm. So when it comes down to it, it has to be somebody, like you said, articulate, well-spoken, like Ronald Reagan, like, we were alluding to, he was cherry picked by BJ Palmer to run WOC. And that's Wonders of Chiropractic, our World of Chiropractic, the radio station that was the first of its kind. So it has to be somebody that has the ability to basically tear down the walls of the chiropractic profession for one major cause, and that's to get chiropractic mainstream and to not be marginalized. And I don't know who that person is, but I appreciate, the opportunity to share on that, but I don't know who that person is. But we need to identify that person and support them like they are the golden child.
Amen to that. And I actually think in my gut, it will not be a chiropractor. I think it will not be a chiropractor. It'll be somebody who's had a tremendous chiropractic experience, either as a family member or as a practice member, a patient, somebody received the care. I don't think it'll be a chiropractor, but it'll be teamed up with a chiropractor, whoever this person is. So, but we'll see.
Well, I know we're starting to come up on the edge of our time. Maybe we can ask some more, but before we get any further, where can people get the book? What are some other websites or links you can give people? Any
Yeah.
kind of resources?
Yeah. So the book website will be dreamwellnessbook.com. My main website right now, if anyone wants to contact me, is dreamwellness.com. And I'm Brian at Dream Wellness, with an I, BRIAN, at dreamwellness.com for email. But dreamwellnessbook.com, we're going to be launching the book, and anybody that wants to reach out to me, they can find out how to get involved with that, because I want every chiropractor to have access to this book for basically free. I'll send them a PDF copy of it if I need to. But this is something that needs to be in the hands of every one of their practice members, every one of their patients. But right now they could go to dreamwellnessbook.com. It'll be up in a couple of days, that full-on website. So if you look now, it's not going to be there, but it will be there soon. And I look forward to supporting this profession and helping all the docs and all those that they serve just live a better quality of life and living their dream every day.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I feel like today was definitely a timely discussion with the three of us. And that's what makes Chiro Hustle the entity that it is we never did it for us. We did it for how could we add more value back to the chiropractic profession in between our movies. Mm-hmm. And what I realized is there was such an essential message within the chiropractic community that wasn't getting shared the right way. And like we said, a chiropractor is not going to be the one to have this type of a platform. It needed some outside source journalism and filmmaker to say, hey, this is how we're going to produce this. And we might not be, the biggest show in town. We might not be the Dynamic Essentials. We might not be the Cal Jam. We might not be, the New Beginnings or the Mile High. But what we did was something really special. And, my vision is to create 1,000 of these shows and to keep on telling this chiropractic story, because when you were going to DE as a young man, one of the mantras there was tell the story, tell the story, tell the story. And really that's what the essence of this show is. So anybody that's ever sponsored us with their dollars to support us as a show, anybody that's allowed us to come and do interviews at their events, anybody that supported us in our filmmaking endeavors, it was never about us. It was always about getting the truth of chiropractic to more people. And I think that when people realize that, that's my mantra, is it's about the people. It's not about us. But if we are articulate enough and we have the position that's strong enough, it's the strength is in the support, and we just need to support each other a little bit better, love each other a little bit more, and, accept each other for who they are rather than face people with the ego or judgment right away. And when we do that, we can see the light. And those clouds that are above your city right now in San Diego, the light will shine through. And I really believe that every once in a while it is a cloudy day for a reason. And that's to realize that the days when they are full of sun, that we should appreciate those days even greater. So, yeah, we are at the edge of our time together with you today. Is there anything we didn't ask you that you'd like to share with us today?
I don't think so. I think that everything that needed to be said was said. You guys did a phenomenal job, and I'm so grateful for you guys doing what you're doing, getting the message out there, keeping Tick alive, and just bringing on great guest speakers every time that you guys do a podcast. So you guys keep up the great work, and I'm so grateful to just be a part of this one day out of this big project that you guys are doing. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Brian. So the book is Dream Wellness. Keep an eye out for it, as it will be coming out very shortly. And if you guys want to learn how to run a podcast just like we do, go to chirohustlemasterclass.com. Dr. Brian, thank you so much for being our guest today. We want you to enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Thank you. Have a great one.
Dr. Brian, we will talk to you soon. And thank you for your energy today and your commitment to what you're doing.
Looking forward to it. Thank you, guys. Bye now.
Have a great day.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.